struggle more than others with cognitive overload. And this has nothing to do with like how much information you can take on, like if you're, if you did well in school or anything like that. Like there's no correlation there. It seems to be like pretty evenly distributed among different personality types. Just for whatever reason, if you talk to a pro will have a conversation with you while they're driving the car, right? Like there's not a lot of mental load there. But that's something that's developed somewhere along the way, right? And when we start out, there is a ton of mental load. So what we're going to do today, this is going to be a very experimental workshop. And fair warning, heads up, I am not feeling too good today, everybody. So please just bear with me if I get stuck a couple times, have to restate something. But yeah, what we're going to do today is actually work directly with somebody, do a little bit of one-on-one coaching, um, and take pauses along the way to make sure we're all on the same page, we're all understanding what we're discussing. But this really seemed like the sort of thing that it's very broad if I just talk about it and we might interpret it some way, might not interpret it some way. Um, so I wanted to walk everybody through an example of what changing this can look like and the effects that it can have. Um, so with that being said, I messaged Ben before this and wanted to see if he was willing to volunteer. He was. So Ben, could you hop up on stage with me? All you got to do is at the bottom of a screen, there should be a speak on stage. Oh, I can invite you. There we go.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So, cognitive load. Tough topic, right? Very there's a lot going on in the race car. Can you tell me a little bit about what that's like for you? Like before we're trying to think about the limit stuff, the -5 to 5. Um what what's going through your mind through any given corner?
Well, it depends on the phase of where I am. In the early stages where I'm learning the track, um, I'm slowly building pace, but also contending with a lot of mistakes.
Mm,
And I'm trying to use grip more and more as kind of my true north. Like, what am I really trying to optimize here? But I'm also aware broke too early, turned in too late. Line isn't quite right. There's a dozen different ideas each turn, and that gets overwhelming, and quickly too, actually, but not right away. The first, say, hour is progressive and reasonably comfortable, but as soon as lap times keep uh, worsening, and you pointed this out in your uh, Twitch session a week
right?
ago or whatever, that there's times when lap times start going down, then it's sort of frustration is what it feels like because I don't know what to prioritize. And there's something going on every turn. And I know enough. Try to be consistent, even if it's not perfect. Focus in one or two places, but the errors are just sort of overwhelming. And once it's overwhelming, it's kind of like being on the other side of the slip angle curve. You know, you're just it's just
Sure.
kind of slippery slope. That's what it feels like. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot. So, target will be to give you some, maybe elaborate a little bit on that true north in a way that's more broad, that gives you more to work with. Um, Maybe get a couple techniques going just to reduce that overall noise. Um, you mentioned consistency. Try to be consistent. How do you try to be consistent?
Well, I work my marks and I focus on execution. And there's some turns, even, well, the majority of them, even though I know it's not perfect, it's kind of good enough. And I just get through it. Uh, and so to me, consistency is just executing, and resisting the temptation to improve it every single time. And that helps keeping it clean. I also have kind of a mantra going in my head: keep it clean, keep it clean, keep it clean. And that helps me be consistent. That this is in the later stages, as I'm approaching, closer to a race where it's a little more stable and I can do that and it's not as overwhelming. And that
Sure.
allows me to focus in a couple areas that I think are the highest priorities. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that does. One more question. You go into a corner. As you're turning in, you realize, this line isn't quite right. Let's say you're going a little too fast. Do you react to that? And if so, how?
Yeah, because I'm trying to get to the apex, and if it means I have to um, put a little more brake pressure in, I will. So I'll try to manage brake pressure to get the car to the apex. So I'm prioritizing, or I have been until more recently through this kind of grip exercise, I have been prioritizing line. So I'm going to do my best to get down to that apex. And so I'll modulate brake and steering to do that if I can. If I can.
I want to take a second and ask everybody watching, is that something that resonates with you? That if you're a little too fast into the corner, we're still thinking about making the apex, using that as a way to kind of try and make the most of it? Okay, good approach. Ben, can I ask you? Hmm. Are you open to trying something here?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, just checking. What if Let's do this in 2 steps. First, let's be super high commitment because this is a pattern I'm seeing in a lot of driving in different ways. Let's be really high commitment around our decision points. So, starting with the braking zone. Do you notice that you tend to adjust your brakes? Like, do you ever go under the limit on the brakes? Like, if you notice you brake too early or something?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do a handful of laps here where we're just super committed to we have our breaking point. Let's hit our breaking point. We stay at the limit until we turn.
Okay.
Um, could you go ahead and screen share for us so we can all follow along?
Share your screen. Yep. Let me get that. Let's see. Sorry if that clicking is annoying. It's now the only caveat here, Brian, is that I'm in the learning phase on this track, so it's kind of a you know imperfect would be a understatement.
It's even better. What I want you to do is just, well, do this for 4 laps. Again, just very high commitment around the limit uh, once you get to your braking zone. We'll talk
Yep.
about how that went after 4 laps. The only thing I'll ask as you're doing this, if you brake too early, don't change your braking point. But if you brake too late, like we have in a couple quarters here, um, freely adjust that so that you're not forced over the limit when you get to the turn.
You'd think I was never in a car before.
Okay. One question. Does it feel like things are happening fast or does it feel like things are happening slow right now?
It just feels really slippery right now. So
Okay.
I'm kind of adjusting to different condition.
Okay. Ease it into the corner. Press the brake, find the limit.
Ah,
Right, let's take a second. Let's take a second. If I ask you to tell me about -5 to 5 right now, how well is that gonna go?
what?
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to survive, keep it on the trail,
Exactly, yep.
which is not now, mind you, for me, I need 4 or 5 hours before I'm stable. I'm an hour and 15 minutes in,
Okay.
roughly. So this is kinda early in the process. This is not as clean as I was yesterday when I started, but different conditions, I'm adjusting to it. But, I
Yeah,
mean, at the moment, I'm just trying to survive, kind of reorient for conditions.
that makes perfect sense. I think that's something that a lot of us, I mean, we've all felt that before, right?
Yep.
Some of us a lot, some of us less often, but that's definitely a thing. We've all been there. No, we're gonna get there, but we're gonna get there. I promise. When you're driving on a street, you're not just trying to survive, right? The car's going exactly where you tell it to go.
Right.
Now, if we drive, if we make sure we slow down a little too much for every corner here, same thing will happen, right? As long as we're not over the limit, the car goes where we want it to go, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm way under
Let's
the grip limit.
right. Let's start there. So we'll maintain trying to stay at the limit under straight line braking, but we're not pushing that braking point. Let's make sure that we're not forced over the limit. Make sure the car's going where you tell it to go, even if it's a little slower right now. We'll build it back up, okay?
Deal.
Let's do it. So if there's even a moment where you turn the wheel and the car takes a second to respond, back that up. Bring it back even more. One more thing. Now that we've brought it back, let's ease up on the steering wheel. So smooth motions, even if it's under the limit. We don't, right now, it doesn't matter if we're under the limit as we turn in. Let's just make sure we get to the mid corner limit. Nice and gently. Keep it gentle. We're not going for pace just yet. Gentle with the steering and make sure you don't turn too much. Turn just enough to find the limit of the fronts.
Well, I'm way under the limit.
Are you?
Think so.
What makes you think so?
This is a grip test.
Okay.
See my horizon change.
Sure. One more change. We're still settling in. Theoretically, when we're in the mid corner, actually stop the car for a second. When we're in the mid corner, the car's in a steady state, right?
Yeah.
If our goal is to maximize lateral grip, and the way we do that is to have the ideal balance, right? Be at the limit of both the fronts and the rears. And the way we do that is by maintaining the right uh, trail brake, steady trail brake, to keep the balance where we want it, right?
Yep.
So, since the primary goal is getting to that maximum lateral grip and staying there, there's theoretically exactly one brake pressure or throttle pressure, but in this car, it's going to be brake pressure. That's going to be ideal to do so, right?
Yeah.
Let's find that and maintain that. If you have to adjust speed, that's okay. I mean, let's not. Let's just maintain the lateral and get on throttle whenever we're able to. If that's too early or too late, we'll adjust it next time. But this time, every time you run through a corner, let's aim for that ideal. Even if the balance is wrong, that's okay. We'll still get information on it. Let's just aim for that steady, ideal pedal action.
And what is success? What am I looking for?
Hmm. Right now, success is feeling in control completely. No, it's vague. Just try this. If you don't feel in control, we'll make an adjustment. Good. No throttle until we're ready to fully get on it. Really good. Nice job, Ben. You were under the limit that time, but you haven't been in a lot of places. You're doing a great job. let's stop the car for a sec. How are you feeling, Ben?
Uh, More stable, like I have something to work with, like I'm working on something. Because in this stage, it's prone to frustration, and that's
Mhm.
not creeping in. So
Oh,
mentally, I'm a little more stable here because I'm really committed to the balance in the car. There's a few places I was sneaking in vision adjustments because I think my vision is just kind of whacked, in those really sharp turns. But I was otherwise just really committed to trying to keep the car balanced, forget about pace. I just threw that out. So it wasn't very fast, but it was more balanced. So a little more put together or gathered up, I guess you'd say.
yeah, it definitely looked that way. Do you think, well, actually, you just said it. You were thinking of making a vision adjustment.
Oh yeah.
You had
Well,
room. Maybe
yeah.
not much, but it was there, right?
Yeah, because in those sharper turns, I was either very early or usually very early. And that to me, just the way I'm wired is means my vision's not right. So that was the clue. I kept, I don't know the name of the turn, but at the very tippy top, I kept running out of track.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was my clue. Okay, your eyes aren't right.
That makes sense. Um, Another thing that tells us is that our apex is too early, right? If we're running out of track on exit.
Yeah.
Um, Good. Okay. Now, do you want to keep doing this and make it a little faster?
It's up to you in the group. I'm happy to be a guinea pig, but if it's not helpful, then I'll follow your lead.
I want to do one more test because it's all well and good if we go from survival mode to not survival mode, right? But now we're slower. Okay,
Yeah.
so we got to be slower to not feel like we're in survival mode. The entire point of this is these next couple runs. I want to make sure we stay there and work to find that pace.
Hmm.
So, first things first, it's critical that we don't break too late. Breaking too early is very useful information. Breaking too late, the entire corner's thrown off. We lose the limit. And more than just that, we're out of control. We're not stable anymore. It's like, we're just trying to hold on. Super, super critical that we don't break too late.
Okay.
Now, if you break too late even once, immediately next lap, break earlier in that corner. Here's our focus. Breaking point, committing to being at the limit as well as we can. Turning. Again, we're making sure we don't break too late. So there should be room to turn in gently to ease the car in. We're going to commit to that. And the focus is going to be, I mean, you've got a great trail brake pressure. I don't even think we have to think about that. Let's just be aware of the front tires. Gently test, turning a little more, turning a little less.
Yeah.
Make sure we're finding that limit. That's all we're doing. Committing to those two pieces when we brake and when we turn. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Try and maintain the same rate of steering, even when you're getting close to the limit. We're only going to be able to precisely feel it if we pass by it slowly. Doing great, man. Try reducing the trail brake through the transition just to make sure we don't um, risk any oversteer. That's perfect.
So right here, Brian. So here's a good example. Like my my kind of mental state is just way off track. So what just happened right there? What's going through my mind is, wow, I've just completely derailed. Was I too late? Too fast? Steering's too slow? I'm going down the list. As I'm going down the list, I'm going off track. And so the two tasks you gave me have put me in a really different mental place. I don't know what that means, but that's what's going
So,
on.
are you saying that you are feeling that frustration now, or you're still in that different mental place right now?
No, it's frustrating now because it's just look how different my driving is. Um,
Okay. I'm the control again. We did it once, we can do it again. Remember the steps we took. We made sure we weren't going too fast into the corner. And then we committed to maintaining balance until we're ready to get on throttle.
Same place, same mistake. going through the list. What went wrong there? Still didn't get it right. Oops,
Okay.
I'm 3 turns ahead.
Back to the limit. What we know is that that's a compound set of corners, right? And you were over the limit on the entire approach. Remember, if the exit of one apex is too hard, we need a later apex. Breaking point, commit to limit. Good. It's very controlled.
Early,
Good. That's okay.
late,
Early is okay. That's easy to control, easy to keep track of. Late is deadly. Good corner. Your choice. One more lap or stop now.
up to you. You tell me what's useful.
All right, let's pause. Let's pause. Let's pause.
Sorry?
Let's pause. Let's take a second. Sometimes it helps to literally just sit and take a second. Helps me a lot when I get frustrated. Take a look at your replay of that last lap.
still late. Still early.
Smidge, yeah. Your inputs are very different, though.
Ah,
Big point here. Everything, and I totally did overload you. Apologize for that. Everything was fine until we started going too fast. That's when the frustration kicked in. It's back to survival mode, right?
too fast, but to me, the first indicator was the car's out of balance. What was different
Mm-hmm.
here was a commitment to keep the car balanced.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different mental focus. Like
That was big, yeah.
there was nowhere I was thinking, well, those first 2 laps that were just a hot mess, I was thinking about pace because that was kind of the overall goal. "Hey, I wanna pick the pace up with some conditions." But the first priority was little more pace. Got frustrated after those first couple of laps, paused for a moment, described what was going through my head. Then I reverted back to just keep the car balanced, keep it clean, keep it clean, keep it clean. And that threw out pace as an objective and allowed kind of grip, optimizing grip to come into my mental awareness while keeping the car balanced. So the only other thing that was going on was, trying to fix my vision and my line in that these turns preceding this.
Sure.
And that was, for me, mentally much more quiet
Good. Okay.
than focusing on than focusing on pace.
Pace came, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I was even looking at that either, I guess.
You went like a second faster.
Yeah. These are awful.
Eh,
Okay.
we got there. Hmm. Good stuff, man. Really, really good stuff. Um, there is so first goal has to be to maintain this mental space. And you just proved to yourself and 40 other people, by the way. Everybody's super excited for you, Ben. This was awesome. Um, that you can get that pace while you're not thinking about pace. You're thinking about control, you're thinking about balance.
It's interesting because it doesn't feel like pace. It feels like balance. So the sensation is different.
Uh, okay,
And
good.
by the way, I can't see any of the comments, so I'm just open loop here.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. We've got a lot of well done's, congratulations. Um, a couple agreements on the pace versus balance feeling. So now we know specifically for you, Ben, and for anybody else that really resonated with that. Anytime we notice that we're thinking, we're trying to get pace, we're automatically not trying to get balance. And we're seeing here that trying to get balance very clearly resulted in pace. A lot of it too. Um, really, really well done, Ben. Really, really, really well done.
Well, look, I just hope it was helpful to everybody.
I think it was. Was it helpful to you?
Yeah, I got out of it a, a different sensation of, and I think you said something very early on in this, which is you really emphasize commitment, and I see that in well, whatever. It makes a difference. It made a difference for me, the frustration came when I was no longer living up to that commitment. It's like, wait a minute, balance and optimizing grip is my priority here. Like, what are you doing? Stay committed.
Good stuff. Just slowing down as well as we can, then returning as well as we can. That's how we make the car go fast. There's just a million ways to deviate from that, which makes it very difficult. That's the key. Great stuff, man. Um, that's I don't want to keep you up here too long. Unless you want to be up here, you're welcome to stay. Do you have any other thoughts though of this whole experience?
I will later, but for now, I'm tapped out.
Right. Well, get some water, take a break, man. You earned it. Thank you very much for doing this for all of us. And once again, nice job.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, what parts of that did you connect with everybody? I want to hear from you, and I want to take a second to reflect on what we are all just a part of. Was it the idea of committing to slowing then turning? Was it the idea of maintaining control, which, to be fair, was a result of that increased commitment? Yeah, good one, James. Focusing on speed and pace. Right. Wanting pace, trying to get pace typically doesn't lead to pace because pace is a result of other things. Pace is a result of optimizing around the tires, maintaining the limit while we're slowing down, maintaining the limit while we're turning. Simplifying the approach. Right, right. Domenico, it's very specifically commitment to the limit. And before we worry about transition, we have to make sure, and this is also my approach even now to learning a new track. I don't worry about the transition until I have my breaking points, my turn in point, I have my plan for the corner. I have my breaking point. I have my intended apex that allows me to commit to the limit, slowing down, and then smoothly but assertively commit to the limit while turning and maintain that to end up where I want to go. Whereas something I've noticed with myself and with a lot of people that I've coached, um, it's very, very difficult to try and replicate something you did before. Very difficult. But often it's weirdly kind of easy to do the same thing if you just go back to the limit. Go back to the limit. Focus on the things you were focused on before, and then the result will work itself out. The hardest part of racing is that there's huh, um Sammy actually told me about this term and it's been stuck in my head ever since. There's like a black box between our inputs and what the car actually does. That black box being everything that's happening with the suspension, the weight of the car, the tires. Um, if we're focused on the limit, we're focused on operating that black box, which we're shedding light on because, we're talking about the limit, we're thinking about what the tires are doing. But if we're just trying to skip over that and do something, like get a result without going through the, okay, how did we get to that? Well, now we're not paying attention to that black box, that disconnect between our inputs and our outputs. And well, it's just very difficult to make that effective because what we're trying to do isn't being fed to the tires correctly. Do any of you guys have any questions about, or any more questions about what we experienced, um, how to apply this? Absolutely, Ben. Absolutely. So while we're learning the track layout, of course, it's not going to be optimized, right? But it's incredibly important. It's actually so ridiculously helpful to focus on slowing down at the limit because that gives you very clear data on if you should be going faster or slower through the corner. Our goal is initially to make sure we don't go off track, right? So we're going to have to be braking early. But um, being at the limit of slowing down gives us very clear data on, okay, this is way too early of a braking point. Okay, that was a little bit too late. Okay, we're kind of in the right range because that braking point allowed us to get to the mid corner limit and stay there. Um, so as we're learning a track, we're not trying to get this right away. We're just trying to slow down at the limit, evaluate if that was the right place or not. As you progress to the higher level Does this change or does it become more difficult to manage as the pressure goes up? It's kind of it's really quite similar. It's just that when you lose focus on this, your floor is higher. So, Ben got in a zone focusing on this and gained like a second. For somebody at the top level, that might only be 2/10. Well, the 2/10, probably like 3/10. But that 3/10 can be the difference between 33rd and second. I don't think it becomes second nature. I think this is always something we have to keep in mind. Um, that being said, the more you practice being conscious of it, the more habitual it becomes, right? The easier it is to maintain. Yeah, that's right, James. That's right. How do we know when we're ready to go to the next stage? Um, Matthias, do you mean adding in like worrying about your transition and stuff like that? When you are confident that you're maintaining the limit in these two places and that the car is ending up in the place where you want it to end up, then we can start to think about, okay, get a little more aggressive with the transition. The biggest thing is being confident that your breaking point and your point of commitment to turning is going to lead you to the right place on track. Right place is consequence, yes. Because when we commit to that turn, we're committing to balance. At that point, we're committing to balance until we reach the inside of the track, or, if we miss the apex, right? Until we're ready to exit the corner. So, because of that commitment to balance, where we end up will depend on how fast we were going when we turned and where we turned. Um, Raz, if you're not sure if your transition is too quick, it's probably too quick. Just as a general rule. That being said, the way to know that is to be able to go a little bit under the limit to be turning gently and smoothly to this mid corner limit. But I think it's likely, but that's something that I definitely can't answer with certainty. That's brilliant. I'm glad to hear that. Good. Because feeling and understanding the limit is what will make us faster and faster and faster. All right, guys. Keep this in mind. And if you have any questions or any feedback, as always, you're welcome to post in one of the chats, even send me a DM. Although, especially questions, um, I would strongly encourage you to post in a public chat just so we can have a conversation that everybody can see. Um, but yeah, am I doing another time slot today? Oh boy, Dan, am I? I'm doing another two. Next one's at 7 o'clock Eastern, and then there's also one at 9 o'clock. Thank you very much, everybody. Best of luck. Thanks again, Ben. Have a wonderful day, everybody. See you next time.